Vox, the CEO of Vox Tech Enterprises, de facto leader to the Overlord group, the V's, and bitter rival to Alastor, quickly became one of my favorite characters in Hazbin Hotel. I just knew from the moment this guy started talking, I was going to enjoy every moment he was on screen.
Now that's good television!
It's like not enough people seem to actually recognize just how bad this guy is because he's typically overshadowed in this regard by his business partner slash friend with benefits, Valentino. So I wanted to use this video to discuss why I think Vox is such a well-constructed villain in the grand scheme of Hazbin Hotel, and to explain why he's even worse as a person than some of you may believe. Like with the Alastor and Lucifer videos I did recently, let's take a look at Vox's design first. While not directly stated anywhere, it's likely Vox's design was meant to intentionally parallel the likes of Alastor's, not only due to them being bitter rivals, but the way they use their brands as overlords fitting into the same category of expression through some kind of form of technology. Alastor's being the classic old-style radio, while Vox takes the more modern route using TVs, the internet, and apps on a cell phone. This, combined with having a literal TV for a face, a hat sporting antennas, and a Wi-Fi signal, can even allow Vox to directly connect to other electronics from very far range. And just like how Alastor's voice has a bit of a static effect to it to make it sound like he's speaking over the radio all the time, Vox's voice will sometimes have different effects to it. Albeit not as often as Alastor, there are some instances where Vox's voice will sound like audio coming out of an actual TV. This usually happens when he's mad.
Think about it. What did you just say?
Then there's more rare cases, like sound effects you'd hear in game shows will come out of his head.
Great idea! Now that's why they pay you the big bucks.
His name seems to either be a reference to the Latin word for voice being vox, or a combination of the words voice and aux. Either or works to fit his design and business endeavors well, with it being so focused on technology and the progression of technology. Despite being confirmed to have died in the 1950s, there seems to be a decent amount of fans that are confused about the choice to give Vox a flat screen TV for a face, when flat screens weren't even invented in the 90s, which is something Vox does himself to the extreme through not only his own technology, but to other sinners in face-to-face interactions too, to keep them buying his products no matter how bogus they may be. Also, if you look closely during Vox and Valentino's interactions in episode 2, Radio Killed the Video Star, a picture of Vox and Valentino shaking hands can be seen on Val's desk, with Vox sporting a typical fatback TV for a head in said picture, those TVs of course being the ones in style back in the 1950s. So it seems Vox, being the tech-obsessed guy he is, was even able to change his own head to keep it in line with the times. If you think about it, having a fatback TV for a head when you're running a tech company that's trying to market the most up-to-date tech probably wouldn't be the best look for the press, wouldn't you say? Like mentioned before, Vox spawned in hell around the 1950s and quickly rose to power as one of hell's most notorious overlords, founding the tech company Vox Tech that sells/markets a wide variety of products from Vogitech, VoxTube, the V-Phone, and Vox Tech Angelic Security, just to name a few. Most of these names being parodies of real-life products, but reworded as puns with Vox or the other V names. All of these different products allow Vox to control a very large market in Hell's Pride Ring, arguably having the most control over the general consumer market in the Pride Ring, or at the very least Pentagram City, though because Vox is just an overlord, which makes it borderline impossible to have further influence outside of the Pride Ring, the likelihood of Vox ever reaching the same heights with his business as Mammon, Ozzy, or the other 7 deadly sins would be extremely low to not possible at all. Eventually, he formed very close business partnerships with Valentino, who is a very big name in the adult entertainment industry, and Velvet, a young social media influencer and fashion designer. The relationship formed between these three was more than just business. Now known as the business group the V's, these three overlords quickly became close friends with one another, sharing an entire building together to conduct their respective business and check in on each other regularly. Vox and Val in particular forming a bit of an intimate relationship on the side, something that wasn't explicitly outlined until episode 8, and seems to be very casual, no strings attached kind of thing, just off the fact that Vox chooses to closely associate with these two people on a close friend basis and, you know, main business partners. I think that already says a lot about his moral code and how he views those who can't help him make money or keep power. Valentino is horrible for obvious reasons. Velvet is arguably the least offensive, but she's still pretty bad, mostly off the fact that she helps produce a love potion that Valentino sells and uses on his own employees to get them to behave. Don't really think there needs to be too much elaboration on why selling a drink that's basically a legal roofie equivalent is horrible. Vox is fully aware of all of this and allows it to happen under his watch. He's the big boss of this whole operation. His love for money and power seems to have no bounds, even showing no problems with the idea of having Valentino shoot and presumably kill their lowest earning employees, using the lives of other sinners as some kind of sick game to cheer up his temper tantrum throwing lover. But I'd say Vox's desire for power, or rather to make sure he can stay in the high ranks in hell, is evident through his rivalry and deep hatred for Alastor. Although it seems more of the specifics about their past will be explored in season 2, right now at the very least we know there was a point where Vox tried to convince Alastor to become a close business partner of his, presumably on the same level of partnership as Val and Velvet. However, Alastor, being the prideful individual about old school radio and hater of advanced technology he is, refused Vox's offer, resulting in a fight between the two where Vox almost lost by the end. Obviously neither of them like each other, but Vox clearly holds more animosity toward Al than Al holds towards Vox. Upon finding out Alastor returned after his 7-year absence, Vox basically had a mental breakdown, feeling extremely threatened over the idea that Alastor's radio broadcasts could overshadow his own TV programs. Vox instantly went on the offensive here, trying to sully Alastor's name in any way he could think of.
I hope you had a nice vacay, but he should have stayed away.
Alastor does retaliate, but is simultaneously so unfazed by the whole thing, calling Vox out on his overly insecure nature and poking fun at his constantly evolving formats. Vox falls for this, hook, line, and sinker, losing his temper so much he short circuits and loses his signal to help influence his side of the story. I cannot wait to see more of this explored next season, because even now with season 1 being over, the dynamic of doing these two characters is still my favorite in the entire show. Perhaps their involvement with each other again will be stemmed from the newly acquired deal Alastor made with Charlie in episode 7, because Vox did say in his meeting with Val and Velvet that one of their top priorities now is making sure no deal is made between those two. A good job on making sure that didn't happen, by the way, guys. As for a flashback, even if it's one of those no dialogue kind of flashbacks like we got with Blitz and Fizz from Hell of a Boss, I'd eat that up. Episode 8 explores this hatred for Alastor further, but in a much more comedic fashion. Vox is constantly watching the Hazbin Hotel Alliance gear up to fight Adam's exorcists, but instead of cheering for their nobility to fight against those who have been killing sinners for years, he's laughing and hoping for their downfall, even getting aroused over Alastor getting beat by Adam when the war was in full swing.
I am so hard right now!
Like, does Vox not realize that if the Hazbin Alliance does lose, then there's a chance Adam, Loot, and the others could pull up to the V-Tower and get rid of them? I'm pretty sure those three don't have access to angelic steel, so there's no way they'd win against that onslaught. And to give Vox some credit, he did seem impressed when Nifty was able to kill Adam. It's not like he sees Adam as some potential ally or something, it's just that he hates Alastor and everything he associates with so much, he'd rather root for the leader of the group who's killed thousands of his kind for ages. It's some next level shit right there. And the first thing Vox plans when he's under the assumption Alastor has abandoned the hotel after losing to Adam is to capitalize off of Hell's disarray with the V's business, hoping he and his two besties will be the only ones running Hell, or at the very least the entire Pride Ring once they start working. Vox really is the worst kind of CEO. These kinds of evil CEO characters aren't really anything new per se, but this kind of character rarely gets old to me because of how real it feels. Tons of media will parody these kinds of shameless business owners who don't give a single damn about the consumers or their workers, just wanting to make their own pockets fat. Yet these kinds of execs still exist in real life and are very prominent, and pulling the strings and, depending on the company, making things worse for everyone but themselves. Though the scary thing about Vox is, the sinners he's marketing to seem to have no clue how bad he is. If anything, they think he's the model CEO who does genuinely put the people's needs first. He seems to mainly sway the public's opinion through his hypnotic powers, a power that seems like it's able to be implemented into the technology he sells too. So no matter how bogus one of his products may be, sinners will continue to buy since, well, they've basically lost all sense of free will the moment they come into contact with just one product. They buy one and now they literally can't help but buy more. The fact that his business slogan seems to be trust us just makes it all the more chilling and kind of disgusting. Like, the guy literally sells a drone product that's advertised as peeping on your neighbors to be a fun time. I get it's hell and some of the freak sinners probably see no problem with that, but come on, dude. I do wonder if sinners purchasing these products, or at least specific products of higher value, are how Vox is able to make deals, get people's souls, and stay as powerful as he does. Like, if a sinner buys a certain product but are required to sign some kind of agreement before they can leave the store with it, or it could just be owning the souls of the employees that work directly for Vox Tech, like that one guy who was confused about the angelic security, simply having guys like that under the same kind of soul contracts as Angel and Val's. But to add on to his exploitations of the masses even further, Vox uses his technology to spy spy on others if he pleases. Those Voxtech security cameras are everywhere. I highly doubt he's using those cameras to prevent crimes from happening either. He's doing it to spy on people in the worst ways possible. It's how he had eyes on the extermination war, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was watching everything that went down in the club with Angel and Val. So, despite my love and appreciation for Vox's character and his role as a villain in Hazbin Hotel, there's no denying this guy is just downright awful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Vox. Do you love him? Hate him? Love to hate him? I'd love to know your thoughts.